Good afternoon, YTPC, Buckeye Piper, camping, having fun. Thought I'd do a video. Mrs. Buckeye's taking a little nap. Had some pretty bad thunderstorms last night, so the dogs kept us both up. So she's grabbing a nap, so I figured I'd maybe do a video. Have the Dagner cob out, and in it, Rainier Gold Flake with fantastic blend. Thought I'd do another one in the series of growing up 80s. It's been a very popular series for me and something I've had a lot of fun with and a lot of interaction with other folks with. So today I think I'd talk about toys, and this is such a broad subject. I'm just going to call this Toys the Early Years, because I may come back and do something later on. So I'm probably not going to hit on a lot of the Nerf stuff and Nerf footballs. I might save Legos for their very own. For their very own, it's windy as all get out here. For the very own video. But I thought I'd talk about some of the ones that were at the top of my mind today when I was thinking about being a kid, and I'm talking about being a young kid. Probably, these were probably from about 3 to maybe 10. So I'm going to call this Toys the Early Year. And it's very windy, so hopefully the wind, you can hear me. We'll see how this video comes out. But, the first thing I really remember, a couple of my first toys that I really remember, I had a John Deere pedal tractor. And it was one of those steel John Deeres, right? And you would pedal it, had a steering wheel, and man, those things would probably be worth a mint today if you had one in excellent condition. But I loved that thing. So you would pedal it, had a black steering wheel to steer the front wheels with it, and it would drive the back wheels with your pedals, and you could just, basically it was a pedal car, but it was a John Deere tractor pedal car. And I loved that thing. Got a lot of miles out of it. Another toy I really loved is I had this rocking horse. And it wasn't a rocking horse in the sense that you think of a lot of rocking horses to where they are just a rock back and forth kind of deal. This was actually on a frame, and it was more of a bouncy horse. You could rock it, but it would do side to side and everything. I used to love to set that bad boy up and watch Bonanza, the opening scene of Bonanza when everybody's coming out. Everybody's riding a horse. There'd be me riding my horse with Haas and all of them. I didn't know what was going on other than there was horses. Lone Ranger, I'd ride my horse with him too. But I put that daggone rocking horse right in front of the television. And man, I'd ride along with them. After I started growing out of that, I started venturing toward things that, some of these things, I don't know how we lived, right? Kids today, if you see them on a bike, man, they're covered head to toe in pads. But, I've already done my series on bikes, but I had a hippity hop, and I'm sure many of you did as well. That hippity hop was awesome, man. You'd really be able to bounce and get some traction. It was very unstable, so as you're bouncing on it, you're sliding off, hitting your head one way or the other, falling off. But man, you could really have a lot of fun on that hippity hop. One of the next toys is one I really enjoyed, and one I don't know how I didn't kill myself on. I guess when you're a kid, you don't kill yourself. Today, if I got on one of these, I'd probably kill myself, but pogo sticks. We had a couple amazing pogo sticks, and I would be able to get major air for a kid on some of these pogo sticks. I would bet I was a foot and a half off the ground, some of them, maybe higher, because I could really work them. But you'd land all sideways, fall on your back, land on your side. Again, no helmets. Nobody died. I don't remember any pogo stick concussions or any pogo stick deaths growing up, but pogo sticks were amazing. And Still to this day, if I see one, I'll probably try to jump on it. A little bit too big, but they're still fun. Big wheel, man. How many of you had a big wheel? I absolutely loved my big wheel. Now, I'd love to get going on the big wheel and you just be flying and you'd hit that brake, that handbrake, and spin it out. It was amazing. But rode miles, well, I don't know if it was, I bet it was literally miles. I rode that daggone big wheel so many times. Up and down hills, all kind of crazy stuff. You know, the thing I remember the most about the big wheel is that damn thing never could get traction. We lived in, we had gravel parking lots and lived on kind of a gravel road that came up our hill. And that thing on gravel, man, you could never get any traction to get going. So a lot of times I just ride it on the porch or ride it in the grass to where it could get some traction. Because it did not like loose gravel in the big wheel for sure. You know, once I started getting a little bit, and that's probably, those ages are probably 3 to 5. Pogo stick probably a little longer. But once I started getting a little older, got into, as every young boy probably did at some point or another growing up in the 80s, cap guns, and all kind of guns for real. But who remembers them silver snub-nosed bulldog cap guns? And you'd buy the red caps that came in a roll, and you'd roll the side of the gun that was what now, if you know, is a revolver, would actually be the chamber more or less. You'd flip that little latch up, and inside you could put your little roll of red caps, and you'd have to thread it up through the hammer, and then every time it snapped, you pop one, it advanced the next one for you. And there must have been 40 or 50 little of them caps. And so when you pulled the trigger, it'd make a little bang, a little puff of smoke. You're not gonna catch nothing like that nowadays. What we really love to do with those caps, like to spray them with WD-40 and then take a hammer and smash them. Especially a whole roll at a time. It would make a pretty big bang, and you know, you could put it near an anthill or on an anthill, and if you could get traction enough to make it bang, it'd blow up the anthill or catch it on fire. It'd make a pretty good bang. Sometimes we just unroll the caps and just hit them one at a time, pop, 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 with a hammer on the sidewalk, you know. How about the snap caps? Who remembers the snap caps? Those little, and I think they still may make them every now and then. They're tough to find, but they come in those little wood chip kind of shavings box, and there were these little white caps. Looked like they had a tail on it. Looked like a head. You know what it looks like. It's got a head with a tail on it, white. Yeah, I'm not going to say it, but you know what it looked like. You could throw those at each other and they would pop. Throw them, you weren't supposed to throw them at each other, but you could and they would pop. You could also mostly throw them at the ground and throw them at ants and other bugs and scare them. If you hit one dead on, you might get lucky and annihilate it. Or if that's what you were after to do. But a lot of stuff revolved around guns when we were kids, you know. I was talking to Mrs. Buckeye. I remember those, they used to come in strings, those little, not BBs. They look like BBs, but they were the soft rubber BBs. And they would come basically on I don't want to say strings, but they'd come on a little stick, and you'd have to break them all off, then you put them in your gun, and you could shoot those little rubber BBs out. And they weren't going to make a weld or anything, but you could hit somebody and it'd sting a little. But those were fun. Also, the ones that would sting were the little plastic disc guns. And here we are again with guns, but it was the little plastic discs. They're little round discs like that, and you'd load them in, and it basically shot them out like a little frisbee, more or less. And man, you could pop somebody with those things pretty good. Pretty good. So, you know, as I was going through this first iteration of the early years, was really amazed at how many guns, and these were just some of the guns. We had all kind of other guns. Machine gun, I remember having machine guns and shotguns, or not shotguns, but rifles. And you know, you pull the trigger on the machine gun and it would sound like it was firing a machine gun, or you'd pull the trigger on the rifle and it sound like make a firing sound. The world has changed since then, without question. But the weird thing is, and I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, you know, you didn't hear as much about, and maybe it existed, I'm sure it did in some form, but you didn't hear about as much gun violence and kids shooting up schools as you did nowadays. Hell, before my time, you know, back when my uncles and stuff were in school, I remember seeing pictures in their yearbooks and stuff to where they would shoot 22s in school in gym class. They would teach gun safety. Again, I'm getting off on too much of a tangent that could turn too political, so won't go there. Let's just stick to the 80s toys. But you know, without that, without these stuff, you know, other things we used, rocks, sticks, dirt, we'd roll down hills, we'd you know, again, I didn't even get into footballs, baseballs, softballs. Those were all givens, right? Every kid had those, well, for the most part. But anyhow, what do you remember some of your younger toys? And these were just, there's some other toys I remember from being even younger that I didn't mention. The little garage thing with the people you put in the car and you could lift them up to the next level and they'd come down. Weeble Wobbles were cool. There's a lot of different little toys. You know, I used to love that. It was red and blue and it had a bunch of different yellow shapes, and you'd have to put the shapes in the right hole for it to fit and go inside the puzzle. That was the real younger years. But what do you remember from your younger years? And again, it doesn't have to be 80s. It could be other stuff. Toys have sure changed over the years. You know, again, at 10, I was out there rolling around on a bicycle and a pogo stick and throwing rocks and dirt and catching crawdads and crap like that. And kids nowadays are playing Fortnite and texting and on their phone all day. And man, oh man, the times have changed. But anyhow, thought I'd make a video. This is part 7. I'm going to call it part 7, growing up 80s toys, the early years, and that'll leave me some wiggle room if I want to do another toy video, because you could really go to town on toys, especially the later years. If you get into stuff like light brights and race cars and Hot Wheels and race car tracks and electrical trains and things like that, was really cool. So I'll probably do something along those lines. But anyhow, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you stuck with me and watched it. Hopefully this brought back some memories. Would love to hear your thoughts. If any of these toys were on your list, or you had any of them, or knew a friend that did. That was the cool thing too growing up, is, you know, if you didn't have a certain toy but your buddy did, you know, you'd go to their house and use the toy. When they come to your house, they'd want to ride it. And so it was all about sharing as well, which was awesome. So give me your thoughts down below, Deck. And I'm going to get off here. It's windy. Hopefully this video comes out. Wishing you all the blessings in the world. You stay safe out there, and we'll catch you later.